Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum.
Good morning, everyone.
Just only English.
Just only English. Okay. So today we'll begin with the opening prayers in the prayer book, but we'll only be doing English. Can you guys hear us? Okay. It's strange. It's blinking.
Okay for me.
Is that better? Maybe that's better. Okay. All right, beginning on page 1. So we'll just do it once, each prayer once in English. All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness, may they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Buddhahood. Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Page 3. All sentient beings, limitless as the sky, take refuge in the glorious kind Lama Vajradhara, the embodiment of the body, speech, mind, qualities and activities of the Buddhas of the 10 directions and the 3 times, source of the 84,000 categories of the teaching and Lord of the Sanghas. We take refuge in the kind root Lama and lineage Lamas. We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas of the Yidams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. Refuge of all sentient beings without exception, divine subjugator of terrifying Maras, together with their hosts of demons, the one who understands all realities without exception, exactly as they are, transcendent conqueror, together with your disciples, please come here to this place. The ground is sprinkled with scented water and strewn with flowers. It is adorned with Meru, the supreme mountain, the four continents, and the sun and moon. As a Buddha field, I offer it. May all sentient beings attain the happiness of the Buddha fields. Whatever merit I have gathered through prostrations, offerings, confession, rejoicing, beseeching, and praying, for the sake of the enlightenment of all sentient beings, all this I dedicate. And then on page 11, Namo. To the Lama of utterly pure appearance and existence, I offer the fundamental ground of appearance and existence. I supplicate you to thoroughly liberate the three realms. Please grant your blessings and overturn the depths of samsara. Sublime Master, wish-fulfilling jewel, crown ornament, the inconceivable, inexpressible mind of the victorious ones, the one endowed with the wisdoms of omniscience, gracious one, the embodiment of love, precious protector of beings, I supplicate you from within the essence of mind. Please grant your blessings from within the innate nature. Please bless me that I may realize the Dharmakaya that is beyond intellect, this primordially unborn, completely pure mind. Transcendent conqueror, the one thus gone, foe destroyer of afflictive emotions, completely perfected Buddha, endowed with logic and virtue, the one gone to bliss, knower of the world, captain, tamer of beings, the unexcelled teacher of gods and men. I respectfully prostrate, completely touching my head to the stainless feet of the unequaled Shakya King. At the time of your birth, leader of two-legged beings, taking 7 steps on this great earth, you proclaimed, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise even then, I prostrate. Possessing a body of complete purity, your sublime form is excellent. An ocean of primordial wisdom, you are like a golden mountain, the one whose renown is evident throughout the 3 worlds, protector of supreme attainment. To you I prostrate. To you who are endowed with the supreme marks, whose face is like an immaculate moon. To you, the one with a complexion like gold, I prostrate. A flawless one such as you among the 3 levels of existence is most exquisite. Unparalleled, omniscient one, to you I prostrate. Supreme among humans, captain of those to be tamed, the one thus gone who severs the all-binding fetters, who with senses pacified is utterly pacified and skilled in peace. To that one, the one who dwelled at Shravasti, I prostrate. Refuge endowed with great compassion, totally omniscient one who indicates the way, ground basis for oceans of merit and qualities, I prostrate to the one thus gone. The pure cause free from attachments, the virtue that liberates from the lower realms, the altogether supreme ultimate truth, to the pacifying Dharma I prostrate. Having been liberated, they also reveal the path to liberation. Thoroughly respectful of the 3 higher trainings, they are a field of sublime qualities. To the Sangha I also prostrate. And then on page 15, I prostrate to the youthful Manjushri, to those in the worlds of the 10 directions, however many there are, all the lions among humans who appear during the 3 times. To all of them, without exception, I pay homage with respectful body, speech, and mind. The force of my aspiration prayer for excellent conduct brings all the victorious ones directly to mind. Bowing down with bodies as numerous as atoms in the realms, I prostrate to all the victorious ones. In a single atom, there are Buddhas as numerous as atoms, each residing in the midst of their sons and daughters. Like that, I imagine the whole Dharmadhatu, completely filled with victorious ones. To those with oceans of inexhaustible praiseworthy qualities, with sounds containing oceans of tones of melodic speech, I express the qualities of all the victorious ones. I praise all the Sugatas. With the finest flowers, the finest garlands, music, ointments, supreme parasols, supreme lamps, and the finest incense. I make offerings to the victorious ones. With the finest claws, supreme scents, and fine powders equal to Mount Meru, all displayed in supreme and magnificent ways, I make offerings to those victorious ones. With vast and unsurpassable offerings, I venerate all the victorious ones. Through the power of faith and excellent conduct, I prostrate and offer to the victorious ones whatever negative actions I have performed with body, speech, and also mind, overpowered by desire, aggression, and stupidity. I confess each and every one of them. I rejoice in everyone's merit, the victorious ones of the 10 directions, the Bodhisattvas, the Pratyeka Buddhas, those in training, those beyond training, and all beings. I request the protectors, the lamps of the worlds of the 10 directions, who passing through the stages of awakening, attain Buddhahood beyond attachment, to turn the unsurpassable Dharma wheel. I supplicate with my palms joined together, those who intend to demonstrate nirvana, to remain for kalpas as numerous as atoms in the realms, for the welfare and happiness of all beings. I dedicate whatever slight virtue is accumulated, through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and supplicating, to enlightenment. Then on page 16, please turn the wheel of the Dharma of the 2 vehicles and their combination, according to the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings.
Good morning. Lambat jebate hindu sogi nyansong donganam dikpele jenje tubezong teacher sola habja bilpale nawam ji jersedang lines.
So then number 8, we've left off with number 8 in the 37 Bodhisattva practices. So it says, the subduer said that all the unbearable suffering of the 3 lower realms is the fruition of wrongdoing. Therefore, never committing negative deeds, even at peril to one's life, is the Bodhisattva's practice.
Tadi kotsek de peche menada better.
Let's see, maybe it's okay.
Tinda jita tse kapto lo wina ta jita nga zu nian song song se ya yorwa nian song song de kala gore se na tene ji nga zu ta rai chok na ne ji ta nian song 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 de den ro zong da nian ro song zong da nian song song de tun ro ye da nyarwa la so borwa tindu ti ke ji dungye mambo ji use song yore ti dungye ta tam chi de 간디스 총벌에 세나 레라데네 총벌에 근데 인도 되는 것보다 아직 샘전 탐지 그 대원동에 인바통 동님도 개인발라 때네 되네 동이 기주 되네 미게와 그렇게 제야요 말에 sol하고 제야요 말에 스타 같은 로직
So this verse is rather straightforward. So it is in regards to the suffering of the three lower realms. So according to Buddhist thought, we have the 6 realms of sentient beings, or the 6 classes of sentient beings. And within these 6 realms, there are the 3 lower realms, the beings of the 3 lower realms, which consist of animals, hungry ghosts or pretas, and hell beings. And in these states of the 3 lower realms, there is a tremendous amount of suffering. And where does all of this suffering come from? It comes from karma, the karma that is accumulated by the beings who then experience the manifestation of their karmic, the karmic result of phenomena, that manifests as phenomena. And so all sentient beings, even though they wish to be free of suffering, they don't want pain and suffering. In order to remain free of suffering, the only way to do that is to avoid creating the causes of suffering by avoiding non-virtue or negativity.
다시 당가서 하고 고야디 조커스는 렌데스야 되다 하고 다 렌데지도 있다 레당 되어서야 라미야나 주상 되어서야지 하고 근데 다 렌데스야인데 너네 전에 빼 갈색 거다 자천부修지 그랬다 렌데스야 되게 하고비나 다 렌데스야 되게다 지 하광에 강사대 치 백신토쇼 스퍼 스프링 게 뭐지 차비오래 양 들어나 이게 안가서 렌데 남자로 오지 남자 커랑로 오지 좀 담비나 안가서 데려와 그러나 제감도 오지 있는 거죠. constitution로 차비오 제감 그 자체도 오지 팀도
And so the most important thing to understand about this verse is how important it is to operate in a way that is conscious of karma cause and effect, or karmic interdependence, karma and the fruition of that karma, creating karma and then the experience of the fruition of that karma. And so cause and effect is actually so profound. It's so profound if, the one who understands karma cause and effect is really like a supreme individual. So it's really so profound to understand or to move in the world in a way that understands cause and effect. And then, you know, really abides by sort of the rules or the laws, the conduct that accords with the understanding of cause and effect. For that individual, it really becomes like sort of the letter by which to live, or, you know, to live by, and like the Constitution, you know, it becomes sort of like the Constitution of life.
Tinita kesi lende ha kobaina ta supreme kasamat honest data the chambo changden enke leka jigi ta chambo changden seya di ngazo ta jita jitsok na la ngazo chambo se ji yorwa mo chambo yore individually tiga na yitin kita ngazo bombonga he bombo to chambo do lab yorwa ina peche men supreme chatu mari kesi ko je kesi me yabo yobina lende ha yabo je mago bina ko chikina ko ke pene yabo chigo sambe ke da ji ko yabo chibi yore la yabo chigo ine ya thada nyam de ji mone sem ke namto chunchi la ji yabo chi dis cover wa tieni da lende je ha ko bina tieni hana ya ji suture chi chi da action wa body speech mind ke lunga yizong ke be jolam number thabaji ta lunga yizong mari bena me shimbaji na ordinary person chi mo thangboji yu binara wa kadeng yorsena ji logic action ke chala ya tin be ya wo chegro yina ya ko puno te ji pure yu da me tdum is khabor wa 이는 것을 렌데지 하고는 강사지 이메나 티네페 가서 치 초트 주로 같이 하고 열세나 티네지 지게 조 샘게 꾸롱테요 티네 배 정보 장자 지요 티네도 정보 장자 지지 비 게다 샘게 꾸롱 들을 때는 티네 이게 루키 남죠 가서나 티네 야보대야 근데 이제 나게 책 야보마야 어떻게 용이 와요 스티니다 저 렌데세야디 하코비나 근데 대충 쉬고 나니까 뭐네 지금 초트 줄게 강사지 차기 예스 대양 고지 좀 얘기 나면 초트 줄고 강사 차기 요래라 대양 팬도데 그선다 인자를 요러와 렌데 송대년에 팬도 요래 제가 나기 렌데 송대년 몇개 그냥 좀 로비나 이 강사 팀한테 지고 용 just cover navy government winner individual
So somebody who truly understands cause and effect becomes an exceedingly honest person. They become extremely honest. And so there's actually a distinction to be made here with regard to what is meant by honest. In general, there are many people who are pretty honest, you know, that they might be kind of considered an honest person, honest leaders, or sort of government officials. There are some who are fairly honest. But this isn't like the supreme level of honesty. The supreme level of honesty comes about through really understanding karmic interdependence or cause and effect. Because when, you know, it's actually quite difficult to have all three doors of body, speech, and mind in accord with an honest agenda. So we might have the intention, you know, to be good, you know, or to behave in a way that is with sort of integrity. But when engaging in actions with our body and speech, with to hold that integrity of mind together with the actions of body and speech at all times is actually quite difficult. And so an ordinary person, generally, they might be, somewhat honest in their behavior regarding body and speech, but to really have a completely pure motivation, or what is really the intention in the mind, or kind of the agenda in the mind, for that to really actually be pure and honest is kind of rare. And so for somebody who really understands deeply cause and effect, then they are more capable of really ensuring the integrity of their intention, their motivation, together with their actions of body and speech. And so then it really becomes, this individual really becomes somebody who is exceptional. And because their motivation is really pure, it's really honest and really true or authentic. And so when there are a lot of hidden or unseen motivations sometimes in the mind when the body is acting and there is a speech that is being spoken through the door of speech, but for somebody who is really exceptional in this way, then there's real sort of purity or integrity with respect to the activities of all three doors. And then there's incredible benefit to this. There's great benefit that comes to that individual themselves. And there's also great benefit that comes to others as a result. Also in sort of a larger situations, for instance, like a government, in which people, if this kind of integrity is present, then there's really incredible benefit that can come to kind of the organization and the country at large.
That particular individual, Karsena, Karpengre, Slavina, Legendary Ha Kongen Jegdan, Legendary Telepe, Song Yabo Chi Denia Kansa Tella, Tene, do Yinayang, confident, do Yinayang, Korabeji, Nifanda, Shanking Giwatan with Hova, to Namiang, Tene, Jeva Miba, Karsana, Koran Kariorsana, Chimone, Jovanda, Dingsin, Dingsi candy Yungure, Shubina, Penangatsu
Din sick or
Dingsi is confident. Dingsi, the confident.
So somebody also, an individual who really understands karma, cause, and effect, becomes deeply confident. And there's this real sort of power in the confidence of their own integrity, which brings a great amount of joy or a sense of fulfillment, because deep down there is this confidence.
That confident can be younger both ways. Confident can be younger Slavina. Pena that Pena Kazaji Pena that Kasedaji Penayana Nazo Yamlaya Buchi over the Yana, Shell Pendochi over the Jiktai Pendochi was in the Pendochi or Hena Pendochiva, ranking Yamlenchiva. Or Tindiji Yamlaya Buchiva, Jikitol Pendochiva, Tindiji Chumbi Gabla. 맞아 마치 제게 맞아 가서 그때 habit로 가리어서나 맞아 칠때 고향으로 이거 오면데 지 세양으로 지와 오면데 약본들이 지 세양으로 지배 다 뒤직배 용구요 얘네야고 렌데 약보 하고 되게 강사지 인디나 진짜 고고요 말아 꼭 코나 단단 drop 사례 다 마치 제가 ordinary people 가서나 오 그것도 expecting 게 요르다 강한다냐 야보 가슴하고 야보 집이나고 당간들이 빼양고도 원들메트서 하고고도 삼바다고지 용걸 봐 이때인데 야보 가슴 집이나 직접 대야 타키노지 맞아 장이 기준 요르스 제니다 대양한테는 지 레드 하고비나 테네지 지로가 토나 야보래 마토나 조미유테 말와 라랑 레야 보지 그것은 줘봐요 말다 컨피던트 요르 ko oti litini lende hakko wala tene meji bana cha shabina expecting yes
So this competence kind of works in both ways, in that so for the individual who really understands karma, they are confident when it comes to their own practice, and they are confident when it comes to their activities to benefit others. And there's no need to do good in order to, or there's no need to do things for the sake of others' recognition. So when it comes to one's own practice, one just knows what needs to be done, and one does the practice with confidence about sort of the integrity of one's own practice, without a need to show the world, without the need to kind of, receive some sort of recognition externally. And so, normally there's kind of a habit of, wanting to show others that we have done something well, and to say, oh, I do this thing well, or I did this thing well, and to have that recognized by others. But for somebody who really understands karma, there's no need for that, because there's already deep confidence about the integrity of one's actions. So there's no need to have some sort of validation from others. Ordinary people have a lot of expectation around this. So there's this thought of, I need to show, others, I need to show them, or I need to have a validation from others. But when somebody understands karma, there's no desire to have to have it, whatever one's activities. They don't feel the need to receive validation from the outside world, because they already know the integrity of their own mind. They already know the integrity of their actions of body and speech. And so there's not expectation bound up in their activities. In fact, when there is that kind of expectation bound up in activities, that automatically, it contaminates the purity of one's motivation.
Not expecting you start take jateri ni ne careers na to jitso na ya te yung yo ba he not to Jitsu Mangrova.
Chutso.
Not Chutso.
Oh, okay.
Jitsu,
Chitso.
this
In general.
Dinner. Carriers Nangato. Tangone young, like it pay, Hasanam Dachi grew up, when it on me York, Hasanam Dachi, Hana Ropachi, Hana Legachi, Takinato Chigri. Other Chigumika look Matama Sim Chikayo Marwa. I hear Kitel, who Yabu Chigdozon, Chado Chigrua. On Gahiketa, Tandamesan complaint Chigri, oh, that didn't natural. Rangi, didn't do luckily. Tell of the Carsinachi ordinary in Lende Hitaha Mahoina. That Pentomendos in Tindi Yabochi, Tindi and Pensopine, Tindi Kalejabe. In a consul Kalejabala Yabola Gamindo, Tadonko to Bode, Jing Dimas, Monin Dimas Lapido, Tapichi, Chito Samares, and Chunsigro. Yena Lende Ha community Yina. Go confident, Jurba Tebumar. Oh, that Corons Kala, Yabodolana, Digre. Dugodo Lamna Dicre, Chabamendos, Ye, Lendeti on a good city. In a consult Chabamendos and the Chico Sambochia, give a late to be uttered, Hank Jobatanto. Yes.
So this, kind of the important point with regard to, understanding cause and effect, or understanding karma in such a way that we get to a place where we really don't have any expectations regarding validation from the outside world, or regarding validation from others. Like in general, for instance, in one's environment, there's sometimes the case, where some people may really work very hard, to serve others with a good intention, with a pure intention, to benefit others, to be of help.
Work really hard,
and they work very hard, and then, but because everybody is afflicted by their own version of confusion or delusion, it's not received by the external community in the same, in the way that one would hope or expect often. So for instance, even though one may be working very hard with good intentions, some people might respond with jealousy. Some people might actually have afflicted feelings of jealousy in reaction to that. Some people, for no reason, might just complain, might just find fault, for no good reason. Oh, this isn't okay, and that's not okay, and this should be done better. You could, or this, you're not doing this right, or you're, not doing that right. And then, and so on. There are a lot of different reactions that people may have. And then that individual could feel really discouraged, like, I'm trying my best and everybody's just complaining. I can't seem to get it right, and people aren't appreciating what I'm doing. And so I might as well just give up. But that is actually an attitude that is one that doesn't really understand karma, because if karma is understood, then it values one's virtuous conduct, or that one's own merit, with a deep sort of confidence and understanding about with regard to sort of the benefit, because one understands karma, regardless of what the validation or the lack of validation that one may be receiving from the external world. And so really, for one who understands karma in this way, then they just do what needs to be done, and without really being affected by the thoughts of others, or the reactions of others. If people say it's good, if people say I'm doing a good job, then fine. If people say I'm doing a bad job, then fine. Rebe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true, right? So this we understanding there's nothing to lose, So some people said, oh, maybe create a positive karma, then the object, said some people may have jealousy or may not appreciate, but doesn't matter. Then we are confident, oh, I did this accordingly, karma, cause effect. I know this not losing. So karma not cheating. So this not result is other people's not judging. So result come to the karma cause effect. Oh, I think I charted there, so probably there's not enough.
Do you want me to get it?
Yeah. And also this interesting, so we sometimes we just judging, you know, this is honest person, or sometimes he said this, you know, this is not honest, but a very
Not that loud.
take kanisra. So interesting thing is, you know, so if we understanding the karma, so then really we cannot cheating on cheat, you know. So I say we cannot say I can lie, and then myself, oh, I not lie, you know. You understand?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
What is it? So we can, other people, we can say, oh, I didn't lie, or so they be naturally, you know, so like hide something, you know, keep something. They are kind of like wall between, you know, on and others. But really understanding is there are no walls. So really kind of best honest. So I say myself, I cannot say I lie, then I cannot keep, you know, secret my lie. I know just, oh, I am stealing, then myself, oh, I'm not stealing, you know. Not like that, I know I'm stealing. Or I'm lying. So that I think this is really very, very important, is understanding the karma cause effect. And then not losing the confidence to practice dharma. And also this not like relying on like object, you know, object said this good or bad, doesn't matter, you know. So not relying on outside. So the inner strength is no one's cannot change. So like, for example, I not lie. And maybe many people say, oh, you lie. You know, you said this and that. But I have confidence, I didn't lie. So it doesn't matter there, I said the lie. So I not create the karma, negative karma. So there is really confident. So these, mostly we have difficulties and the problems is because too much rely on outside. Sometimes even though we said before, we did good job, you know, work very hard, benefit others. At the same time, they're willing to something expected, I show, you know, I did this, or I did benefit this. So there is something expecting. But if you really understand the karma, there are no expecting. 어디에 딱 간다, 가스나, 단기 공주반나리 치, 렌데스야티 치 초도 줄바, 로, 그 constitution이나 차디요리라 렌데스야티 치 초도 줄비기 렌데 합 공연팀이들, 되네, 공부 정보, 로, medemba kind of pure, extremely pure person is.
So somebody who really understands karma really becomes an exceptional individual. They really are somebody with authentic, like deep and true honesty or integrity. They become an extremely pure person.
Tenditine, Tiga Naji ke Kartiarsena, Jig Lende Tike, Jig Lace at candidates and Kakism Kogua, or Le Laptitine, Jig Henjik Sobi Wandaji. Young men lace yade, Ben Sanjin Dojekita, Koranke, Karsego decisions in the Kanta, Koranke regulation Doji. Soa tinde mare is lazy at the candigere sena late suki le gevele chiuna da megevik le suchiuna teaching handera tell rally is tindigere matobeki late sucheki ben sanjin do jigam ben addicted under wujeki jing Yamana punishment on the Yamana Rundo social is.
So some people tend to think of karma as being like some sort of rule kind of imposed by some external force or something, you know, that it's sort of like this system that like, you know, is dictated by some other entity that provides sort of like a punishment, you know, kind of like like decisions or regulations of some sort, you know, but that is not the case. It's not something that is created, you know, or something that has judgment, you know, in as sort of some, you know, inherent to it. It is actually, you know, just the natural product of how it is. It's sort of the outcome, the logical outcome, in that if somebody engages in virtue, then the result corresponds with the cause. And likewise, when we engage in non-virtue, then the result corresponds with the cause. It's not something that is created and imposed by like some dictator or something, you know, that's based on judgment, or that's a kind of like a, you know, a punishment.
어때니 대가 나게 해서네. 레지 사해 요나티니 대송도와 레드 살라미 말에 돌라미 말에 어 미심바지를 미기 말에 수치오나 텔레밍기레 송르게 게벨레 치비나다 메게베킬레 치비.
So whoever accrues the karma, whoever accumulates the karma, is the one who has to experience the result of that. There's no other option. It can't like be transferred to a rock or something. Somebody else, it can't be transferred to somebody else. You know, once the causes are created, the ripening can't be experienced by someone else other than the one who created those causes. And so whether it is virtue, the causes that or results that correspond with virtuous causes, or whether it is the results that correspond with non-virtuous causes.
What Tigana Kitana leads to something as a sum tango, or that you could number in a lema moji to some way. The land the number 말해. 남바 이나다, 치와 이나다, 추올레 테바 유나다, 추올레 테바 미나다. 그 레인데 콜로와요 말이지. 다도 남바 이비기 중생에 되네. 아주 레 야야 요리. 레 미게비 렌도고나 미게비 킬레들라. 야과치야 요리. 미게키 킬레들라. 까야 요르와. 디팽기. 어떤 비기 렌들지 윤도야 강해요.
So some people think, karma, that's like a Buddhist thing. The Buddhists have lots of karma. But actually, karma operates and functions, independent of whether one is a Buddhist or not. Independent of whether one has faith in the Dharma or not. Cause and effect are infallible. And the virtuous and non-virtuous seeds bring about their corresponding fruitions or results. And regardless of whether that is accepted or not, that is actually the way that reality functions.
어다 티인도 다 레티인도 다 레티기 나네 페나차샤비나 맞출 레게와 라와 레게와 다 개항가서 게와라 되네 지 저탄다 레 망보요 이나야 티나네가 레직 맞어도 너드르 슈비나 루나 이솜기 레세야지 루나 킬리 솜지 킬레티 직다 메게완로 좀 암비나 지 루주고는 소주바 근데 그마자와 근데 가래 마찬가지다 로예므로와 손데 근데 지금 그거네 좀 색소마지와 이지고는 납선 로타지 티케다 독초들라 가래 슬라비나데 게베킬레 손데.
So in the different categories of karma, there's virtuous karmic causes, and there's quite a vast array of how those, what those different or the characteristics of those different causes may be. And all of those causes are created through the actions of the doors of body, speech, and mind. Likewise, there's a vast array of characteristics that involve or that distinguish the non-virtuous causes. And likewise, all of those causes are accumulated through the three doors as well. But they can be mostly subsumed into the virtuous actions of body, speech, and mind, which are the 10 virtues, and the non-virtuous actions of body, speech, and mind, which are the 10 non-virtues. So first, the 3 non-virtues of the body, which are taking the life force of living beings or killing, stealing or taking that which hasn't been specifically given, and engaging in harmful sexual conduct or sexual misconduct. And then there are the 4 non-virtues of speech, which are false speech, saying things which are actually not true, or lying, engaging in harsh speech, harsh or hurtful speech, engaging in divisive speech, or speech which actually separates or alienates people from one another, and engaging in speech which is meaningless or idle chatter. And then there are the 3 non-virtues of the mind, which are the mind of covetousness, or sort of a greed or covetousness, the mind of ill will, or harmful mind, and the mind of wrong view. And so all of the opposites, the direct opposites of these 10, then are the 10 virtues.
tene tiga na yi ke da le te yang ji mi ya la tene pe ka se ko da mambo ji yung gu yo le spe na le te number mi ba te ka se na ji te da na mi ji le se ya ji tene tiga na yi ke ji pe na mi ki le sung gu tene ji pe na ga ku ma ro ji ma ja bi na ke to da ku ma ji thanda ra ko leเป็นก็ก็มาอียาบินะเป็นเกี่ยวกับกระเทียมอย่างเกลียวเลยก็ต้องหันดูสิเกี่ยวว่าเท่าจะมาสิเบกีจีกุมารโรมาจับอีนะทีนี้โคจิทันได้เกี่ยวกับกระเทียมอย่างทว่าอย่ามาเลยที่นี่เนี่ยก็สิ่งนั้นก็จูปันจูกุมาจับเลยที่สุดลักษณะแบบว่าตัวว่าที่นี่จีกุมารมาจับว่าที่กี่คนนั่นมีที่การงานคาริยงก็เลยสินะทีนี้จี무게 통나라더니 가오요 와도 제가 나지 기지 조번조 이나야 같이 레라워더니 드롭토야 랩토야 어다 딩리게더니 지 나미키려 어스 고요래 드네 집다 지바 준두다 용마 준두 세야 돼 가리운 거요래서는 지바 준두 단다 챈들고만 맞아위나 지 제 치마들 때는 거만 야구만 그 집어 주는데 그만 좀 야구만 제가 이게 지 영화 준두데 갈세나 되네지 랑크 노르 주노르테니네 라로 말이스 메시에 그만 야구 말이스 지 사자 가완로나 셀프 사자들 어떻게 그만 야구 말이스 제가 이게 다 가서 돼 와게 되어서 유로와 유로워지 그 지네는 유들 배 유라지 가서 유롱주 동도도서 야보요 제가 나기 고지 사자들한테 그만 매와 와다 딘리게 되네 유리지 그래서 와다디 레세야 돼 되니까 되게 도서로 있나 고지 말와
So then there are the different ways in which the karma itself ripens. So there are many levels of karmic ripening. So there's, for instance, the fully ripened result, which is kind of like the direct or sort of the main karmic fruition that corresponds with the action. So for instance, if one is a very honest person who never steals, who abides by the law and doesn't steal, doesn't take the items or belongings of others without asking, then the direct ripening result of that is that one won't have to experience the result of having broken the law and stealing and then having to go to prison for that. So the direct result is that one doesn't have to experience going to prison for stealing, whereas if one does steal, then one has to the direct ripening is that one goes to prison for stealing. And then if the direct ripening of not stealing is that one has sort of an easy flow of abundance, that one doesn't really have anything lacking with regard to one's needs of like physical and material needs. And also the immediate ripening is that generally one is a sort of liked by others, being regarded as an honest person by others, then others sort of feel happy to see you, or one is sort of creates delight in the minds of others, and and again, of course, then wealth and possessions come easily. There's kind of an easy abundance or flow. And then the ongoing sort of the residual results is that if they are then the residual karmic ripening that results as tendency is that if one has not developed a habitual pattern or a habit of stealing, then one isn't inclined to steal. That is sort of a natural inclination to be honest or to not take the belongings or possessions of others. And then the residual result that accords with experience is that one doesn't, in future lives, one doesn't experience a kind of the loss of wealth, or one doesn't become victim to the theft of others, or to others' theft. One doesn't, one's sort of wealth and possessions are safe. One has a sense of safety when it comes to material things, wealth and possessions. And then the karmic result that manifests as environment, which in Tibetan is called Wangitabu, is that one finds oneself in environments that are full of abundance, where there is, there are plentiful crops, there is a sort of, lush landscape, and that there isn't any sort of lack or sort of destitution sort of reflected in one's environment.
Tinitaya ko lendesia ko mitandi disco mandayo sares lenga hina tiniti tandaran mindoya wa matsoti peji yorwa lenga hi zuguzile koraja gres beta nyo tandaran mingresia tonchonyo kile lenga hi le pe ngasochi teso da pendo wa kasante 우르지를 못 거라 자그래서 그랬더니 직다 다른 거 인베케샤래 가야 너도 휴이나 근데 레디
우리가래
우르지를 뭐 모테메론도 어떻게 거라 자그래 인다 돈다 갈라고 그랬으나 근데 가실레페 직 렌데데 코 카세고다 many generation 도 오나 근데 가시야 코지 근데 깔바텐 네레야게 레드니 요사로와 근데 요레스 제가 나 이게 레 당보 몇 개와 충전 지시하려 돼. 그 칼레 도루네. 지금 뭐 발아 침보 장로야. 드리어서레스. 야 레가시 칼스는 당보 레페. 칼스 레몇 개와 효침보 레요나. 되고 대반로지 야네. 그 칼레야. 건지외도 충전마다 미야메 보다 드리어서레스.
And so then there are also different time periods that the karma can ripen over like a course of different time periods. So it varies. Sometimes there's what we call immediate ripening. So sometimes karma ripens very quickly. In fact, they say it's like it ripens in the time that it takes just to sort of circumambulate your finger, or to sort of to spin around your finger. Like, so just like a really quick moment, almost immediate, that the karmic ripening happens. Then there are some that happen, more, not so immediate, but maybe in like the next life. And then there are some karmic causes that actually take a really long time to ripen. They said like they can take sort of that are compared to, circumambulating Mount Meru, like the time it would take to to go far away to Mount Meru and circumambulate it. And so that is referring to sometimes it can take many, many lifetimes for certain karmic causes to ripen. And sometimes it can even take kalpas. It can even take, eons before that karmic result comes to fruition. So in this way, and really also there is the building of the karmic power or momentum that is created by seemingly even very small actions. So it can be like very seemingly insignificant or small karmic cause, but over time it can build in its strength and kind of karmic energy or power. And so, even, and this is both in the case of virtuous causes and non-virtuous causes. So even with a very, very small non-virtue that seems insignificant, if it goes unchecked, if it isn't purified, then it can build in sort of its intensity over time, and then can lead to a very sort of severe karmic ripening. And the same goes for virtuous karmic causes. Those that are seemingly small and insignificant can end up yielding a really tremendous positive karmic result.
다단디 subject 가시지 what this 대인들이 다 당보트까지 immediately 가리용구요래 슬라비나 되네 배나가서 하고로 와 배나 해당으로 오지 흉치부 랑비가라 깨지 더랑 같은 지 류양 마데와 세양 마데와 용구요래스 대가나 이 해나 대중구도 와 배나 차샤나 넘버 똑바 해당으로 오다 넘버 똑바 되네 지 해당 쇼칭벌랑야 디게 뭐네 장내다 뭐네 destroy 가스나 our body system G2 grace super truths within 1 second. Oda tendigitini kochi le tandaya mingi yore. Tega nagi tini jowa jikan sumgongi le peji xa yore. Tini le de kandi peji xa yore sena bena mejik la paa nga su mejik ta sarwa tugur ma na jita mejik tugur wa jik zemon ro ze kani chiguna. Tini choranta ndaja ya la pe ya bodo labi na Tene parjo meti thar rahana kora o chorana yabodo slab grace tete rewa kora tati ranjiri reso ranji o tega no inga so music tu chu pe me dogya shifsto ta chu pe je me kumari lamna ko so labro o chorana kumari labro o da tindu ko ji le tandarami ya de tindi je la samo jetana nga so da di chu nyamle chi ya de ko jikten di na je jikten di na chu That's Dharma love dependent separated depending on concept way of the life. Chayo mo. Then one way of the life chali is.
The Charang Dajaya Yapoyore?
In that or shooting.
Oh, okay.
That's the pair.
Yeah.
Clear leka karina rabada. In the John you can so motos on Dajam, Choran Data, the King, or Choran that's all the luck.
Okay. So one way we can think about this is, it's very easy actually to understand the logic behind immediate karmic ripening. Actually, everything that we do has some degree of immediate karmic ripening. Because and this isn't difficult to understand, even if we just think about giving rise to a negative emotion, an emotion such as anger, an emotion such as fear. So the moment that we become angry, our whole body and body-mind continuum is disrupted by that anger. The moment that it arises, the moment we give rise to really strong fear, then it just destroys the body system within 1 second. So that in that way, we can really see that in the very moment that that virtue or non-virtue arises, there is that direct result. There's the direct experience of an immediate result. Also, Lord Jigten Sumgan describes this with the example of, how people in the world react, according to different actions. So he says, for instance, if you're shooting, if you're doing archery with someone and you're shooting, with a bow and arrow, you're shooting at a target, and your partner says to you, "Oh, you're really good. You have really good aim. You're really good at shooting archery." And then the other guy is going to say, "Oh, hey, thanks. You're really good too. You're also really good at archery." And so there's sort of like this harmony, right? This sort of pleasant harmony between people. On the other hand, if somebody is kind of nasty to someone, then they're going to be met with a nasty response. And so it's immediately reflected by our environment, how we we immediately receive what we put out. And that is also a product of immediate ripening. We can understand that as immediate karmic ripening. And so in this way, actually, we can see how the Dharma is not actually separate from our way of life. It isn't like some separate thing, like there's a religion and religious practice, and then there's like, life. They're really one and the same. It's, the Dharma is our way of life.
Tene tang gashi ke tanda di legit number mi batine jurimbo 지 민기리 예송로 아다 종지 요래 다 종지 페이지랑 소하고 그래 뒤에네 땅냐마 상지 좀 된데 총대에 까올라더니 뭐지 되네 야 셔리플레야 슈지네 나 타와치기 슬랍들이 셔리프게 그런 모션도 있다 다 초라 메르 개발로 칸 싸움도 되네 인도처럼 타와치야 요 말이스 라바리 제가 나 얘기 근데 야 코나 요구선 되니 몽게 개발 제가 비셔리보다 몽게보다 선이 좀 되니까 너무 로아 집디서버 되는데 몽게 그렇게 코나 오신 기집 다운베 까블라더니 그 개와 간데 사도 있다더니 몽게 그렇게 뭐처럼 대다 직타와 생활이 되지 요 말이스 지금 생각하세요 저랑 개와 한 싸움도 우스 라지 되네 타마디 선이 좀 되는데 상지 좀 되니까 자와지 책이 상지 굉장히도 송과 되는데 타마데다 아직 셔리보다 몽게 분인 게 자와지는 되기면도 고개에 자와 강해서 하면도 나고요. 근데 상지 좀 되는데 저런 게딱 계획 자와 요발에 되는 그 엑셉치어로 와 되는데 카레스야 상지 슈디베 슈비가가 되는 레레레 되네 다 셔리보다 몽게 분이다 뭐지 알아들어 다좀바트리 고모 톱이요 다좀바트 속이 지 제가 납자 상들인데 막 이렇게 드니 파시랑 통 말이스 이내연 디면데 제가 납자다 드니 야야야 제가 처음이가 제 그거로라 드니 거랑 가르치도 슬라비나 드니 두소제 강나 거랑 파베제 완전 샤스 드니 그 파파데 드니 치제 드니 그 대도스 대응비가 그 초대적이 와라템도 우스 굉장히 그 개배자와도 스타트 개배자와도 민물에서 그 주rin보 있는 개와 충분도 그 두수디스 그 그래 진짜 진짜 지지고 단다디 그 개와 요리스다 개와 요리 좀 전에는 자와치는 저기 요리서 그 개와 요리 딱 갈땐 거스나 너 자와치기 선배로 계속 메른다 오지 개와 가는 싸움이비나 어디 나 자와치고서 로코나 제기 말 들리는데 다 드린 레진 들으면 자와 집안자 마지비게 마찬가지로 다져 투그레 송로 어딘데 다 된대야 레베 주준보네 되게 고고야 세나리다 되게 기타 당본 딱 레자야 되게 충분히 와 근데 간다 주준보네 미고 되게 요사です
So sometimes it can take a very long time for karma to ripen. And one story that exemplifies this is certainly one you're all, or many of you are familiar with already and have heard many times. But there was, during the time of the Buddha, there was an individual who wanted to take ordination. And he first approached Shariputra and said, I really want to become ordained. I want to become a monk. And Shariputra, who having clairvoyance, looked into his past lives, and he didn't see any karmic cause there for this individual to receive benefit from taking ordination. Like he hadn't created the merit that was necessary. And so he said to him, actually you don't have the virtue or the merit in your past lives that enables you to really benefit from taking ordination. So actually I don't, it's not, you don't have the merit to become ordained. And then he went to Mogayana, who was actually, who was also one of the main disciples of the Buddha, who had specifically was known for his cities of clairvoyance. And this individual said to Mogayana, I really want to take ordination. I really want to become a monk. Please give me ordination. And Mogayana, also looking into his former lives with his clairvoyance, saw that there was no karmic seed there. There was no cause. There was no merit for taking ordination. And so he relayed that to him. And then finally, this individual then went to the Buddha himself, and he said, I really want to become a monk. I really want to take ordination. And the Buddha said, okay. And then, and he took ordination. And then there was some discussion as to, well, why is it then that when asked, when asking both Shariputra and Mogayana, he was told that he hadn't created the karma, the positive karmic causes or the merit for taking ordination, but then the Buddha permitted it anyway. And then the Buddha responded in saying that as Mogayana and Shariputra have reached the level of arhatship, they have clairvoyance where they can see 500 lifetimes into the past lives. So they can perfectly perceive with clairvoyance 500 lifetimes of any given individual. But since the Buddha has complete omniscience, he can see back into through limitless lifetimes. And so in looking into sort of the limitless lives of this individual, he perceived one lifetime in which this individual had actually been born as a pig. And as he was, while he was a pig, he was chased by a dog. And while he was being chased by this dog, he sort of inadvertently circumambulated a stupa. So he, and through that, the virtue of that circumambulation of the stupa, he actually had created the causes or the merit that now enabled him to take ordination. Not only did it enable him to take ordination, but it actually would ripen as, his reaching the state of arhatship in that lifetime there as a student of the Buddha.
What that do that using bochi nitne jikti yosa tan ga hiang ko jigli number me ba mandawa bena sangje ka la tne gelong ma obali do se ji do gelong ma obali do obali sena yata mo thambo da lo chunjung se gro ta thi ka la tne mo changsa ja be ka la tne 다 초가치 tunne tene ko to project do pomoji chi techi bi ka la tene dobja ge ja ji la tene ji choga de mi shimba ji se tene ya pu ji ji be jan gun do ji se ji tene du do ji se tene mora ya na la ji le ba ka la khamba ti ya members is
So then there's also another story of complete karma or direct karmic or the fully ripened result, and it is a future that occurs in future lifetimes. So this is the story of the bhikshuni who had the complexion of an upala flower. So her name was complexion of the one with the complexion like an upala flower, and she was young. She was very young, and she got married, and then she had this sort of, and she had two children. She had a son and a daughter, and then she had just a series of really, misfortunate things, or this period of tremendous misfortune. So first, somebody murdered her husband. So she was all alone with her two children. And then shortly after that, one child was eaten by a wolf. And then the other child was killed by a poisonous snake. And then she went home and her house was burned to the ground. Her house caught fire and was totally destroyed.
Such a shimbaje down the beyond, the magic, the choir are robberies. Choajig rock. The choa the rowdy tine, teach over the young Carsenati medico, the uncle Carsecoli, chip, the chantom being a race. Tinitini, the magic of the Chupaja. Then the aunt chantom the Chupaja, go on choa the sea harris, making my big. See it in it.
Mishimba chogala say
Zioris. Then Tamo catches in it, more young Kikalatri, Yak looks on the way to me, or Choata down, she's on the Kikal to the bed and Roma, Sawa, Legrava, or Choata Gemini Yama Leviak, get on Suji, Yosara Jala, Tinichi, more Sawa, Beja is named.
Yine yang dampo tenda chayo marawa. Dampo choga che yarawa. Tini dampo tenda chayo marawa.
Mare.
Ni itimani
zon boyor wa choga mo.
Re yine yang de tenda lupso yina dampo ki choga se du gari chini morang se yo mare.
Dampo chi de mo choso.
Oh. So
he loved one house he loved.
So after she found that her house was burning, she came home to her burning home. She escaped, to the mountains. She ran away, and then she was, in this other place, and then she found another husband. She married this other man, but then this man turned out to be an alcoholic. And he was always drinking, and so it was always, very difficult. And then so she tried. So then the husband, when one time the new husband got drunk, and then he ended up fighting with somebody else, and then he was killed, by somebody, in this drunken brawl or fight, and then. At the time, sort of the custom was that if a woman's husband died, they would bury the wife alive with her dead husband, and underground. So the outcome for a wife who had lost her husband was death. And so she was buried along with her husband who had died underground.
Tini ya tika la karsena ta ko mateni sheson de tini ko kuma jamne tini tutu na me shiwa te ga sana tini ko tino ta ko je nyam chala ti be gro ni ko ma jang ne ji le ba des e ko ma jang ne le te ne ko ma jang ne tu ya lo me ka lo mo shi yo ma ba ne mo ma shi ne te o da mo ne ye je wo do la na tu ko ma ti ni ki ne mo da je me ro cha ba des.
And so then then somebody who was like a grave thief, or a grave digger who wanted to find treasure, because sometimes also the custom was that when people were buried, often they would be buried with their wealth or their belongings. And so knowing that there was a fresh grave, there was somebody, who came with the intent to steal, whatever sort of riches or belongings that there might be there with the corpses. And when he dug up the grave, she still was alive. She still hadn't died. And so then the thief thought, oh, what a pretty girl, what a beautiful girl. And then the thief made the girl his wife. Oops.
Okay, now maybe not good.
Yeah.
We try to charge the other phone, but now it's something going on. Tene, ta Korani nyam di shadwa Korani le pugji jiberis. Tene pugji ji undi tene ko yang jikuma te yang tene kuma. Tene ko ras de ne tene jires. Tene ji tene ko ras ne tene nima di Korani ke pugti se. Tene yang
Wait, yes, who was it?
Korani ke pugti se lo chwati ko ras sonrowa.
So pugu dan kumo sayore or
Mare pugu se yorwa. Pugu se tene pugu shat ne amekalama te yores.
This is kind of an intense story. So then this new husband who was a thief also had a drinking problem, and so then they had a child, and then this new husband, in a drunken rage, then killed their new child, the baby, and then he cut up the baby's flesh and forced the wife to eat the flesh of her own child. And so then she ran off to the mountain. She fled to the mountains. And then finally she became a nun. She took ordination. Well, actually, and there was even more terrible thing that happened when she married another husband, and then another series of terrible things. But since we don't have to say that. So anyway, after that, then she took ordination.
Jarbo sang nyame jarbo so la chike chumo pe mo bo yorwa ina tene moran ke jarbo ke chumo gemba res ke jarbo chumo gemba in be kabla tene moran ke tene chumo chunga tel tene ta moran ke chino pugo yuji marwa ina ta chumo chunga je la tene pugi res puk kale mo ko la se da res puk se tene jarbo ko mo ke puk choran se yo sa res ta lam grwa ina tene mo kta tene na chimbo se na se ta na to ji za chimbo shi zhe grwa o nya za wa ni se ni se tene be na yang de tene na ting ma nga da wo ji wa la de ne ne ji le tene na ti kin zhe wo ta ja ta puk se bi ke bi kwa da yo wa ta za ma ze bi ke na chimbo na ji wa la de ne ji lin de trin yong ba re sung ba sa.
So then then when the Buddha explained, what was the karma of all of these terrible experience that the bhikshuni had to endure before she, had taken ordination, he saw that in her former life, many lifetimes ago, she was one of the queens among a number of queens that were married to a king. And she was barren. She wasn't, she was sort of the senior queen, and she hadn't, she throughout her life as queen, she wasn't able to get to bear any children. And so then one of the younger queens had a child, and she was extremely jealous. So she killed the child, and then so she killed the child, and then she denied it. She denied it emphatically. So when the king, confronted her, a number of times, or like 5 different times, about, having killed the child, she denied it emphatically. And so the fully ripened karmic result was then both the result of having killed the child and then also having denied it.
Not denied. Swear.
Yeah, denied. She swore she didn't do it.
Times.
So actually maybe more importantly than denying, she actually swore 5 times. She swore, that she didn't do it. So then as a result of that, then she had to experience, 5 different times in this one life, her husband getting killed. And her child getting killed, I think, also. Yeah. Children.
Yeah, many children killed. Yeah. And then Deji style into Gitan Angulima Chipola country. In a Surmon Tima Gendowina, Mombo say your days. In a young Horankape, Mrs. Garan, Chichunyam Mombo, Chivala Tene, Chip, Wanyarwalaya, doing young Tarjan Ponda, Tarjan Ponda, Tinijamaton Yama is, Tailing Authority, Migiwik late young, Chetantas only, Bifala. Like Yontan your mares, Yinatina, Yontan Jig yours. Yontan Jig the Yapatis, the Queen of the Yapachia, the Patano, this who did Goji Yang, Yamala, Javamalape, Migi was Chimbotini Chivina, Yang, coaching to it, no Magoa, yes.
So then there are some other stories actually that we could go into, but because we don't have so much time, then he'll just mention the story of Angulimala, who also you're probably all, many of you are familiar with, but he was one of the disciples of the Buddha who, prior to becoming a disciple of the Buddha, killed many people. He murdered many people, and so he had created really heavy, non-virtuous negative causes or karma. But once he became a disciple of the Buddha, he completely purified all that negative karma, and he actually also reached the state of arhatship. And so when he had to experience the direct or the fully ripened karmic result of all his negative actions in that life, or of killing, then it became like a ball bouncing. Like it was so sort of swift that he just sort of like fell down into the lower realms, or the hell realms, and then bounced right back up very quickly. So just like the bouncing of a ball. And so he didn't have to experience kind of the full effects of his negative karma because he purified it. And so that is to say that even though it is said that there's absolutely no virtue in non-virtue, like there's nothing good about negativity, there's nothing good about non-virtue except for one thing, and that one thing is that it can be purified. So that's the only quality of non-virtue is that it can be purified.
that's all not a lazy legend number member some legend number member some land the lang so category Georgia yomaris. I contribute Yapachia, Tibo Matobeke, Pena land over Chichitine, not to never so don't under which is now. Young land over the Pena Santi Jum Dende Lochino, Takuchi, coaching at the land of my young roaches in Santi Jum Dende Kisundua, and drove it doing a chuck Simon, sorry. Santi Jum Dende Koranke or Choranki lating and Matamachi, laughing and Martha, never so sure with the Yungumari Sundua. What in the Tigana Yeke, a legend number member, some major, India Dani, Tondorji, Les Ahajote, Okota, Tandanda, which is Benam. Metal Indi Chimburi, Yamatel Pombo Chimburi, Metal Pesha Mambo Yore, Tali Mingumaris, your maris. Go lazy at it, go suli china, Mingri, so Jindawai, Lechiva, Tandawai in Dewichum, so they can Jezafon, Dewitinity Mingri is.
And so, whoever experiences or whoever accumulates the karmic causes will experience their ripening, those ripening. And the way in which karma ripens is like inconceivably diverse. And so there's no way that once the causes, apart from purification, apart from the individual who has accrued the karmic causes or the karma, purifying their own karma, there's no other way to get rid of it. So even, there's no one who can sort of spare someone of their karmic results, of their inevitable karmic ripening, not even the Buddha. So just as the Buddha says, I cannot, clear away your suffering, or the causes of your suffering, your karmic history, just with sort of the brush or the passing of my hand. And so in that way, even the Buddha can't take away our karmic ripening, much less anyone else. So, no matter how much compassion someone might have, no matter how great and powerful they may be, no matter, what their status, they can't, help when it comes to the karma of somebody else. They can't actually, take away somebody else's karma for them.
What the Tatani, Tajitangas to Sushita, Condor duty shubina, was only Kawagongure. Rawa, Tanda de Number Sanji Beki Chun in Yamachia, the money, Sachimbo, Sachimbo Kanigi is shubina, Tangato Dungendo Marwa. Dungeki ju kandis ngogo wata dungi ju kanima ma shigre lendi hakola ro o tegana yike chi ma dewan do patsamje dewa to ya yomarwa sama dewan do yore retsu dewa to yomar yine ya dewa to ya kari yose deveki ju gewa aso gewa drop gewa yo hakogu yore la tegana yi gewa ga drop to yorwa tindeji indu ndi kechi Lendek Namjandi go Nekavian, Panto Udeva, Tandala, Betsendela, way of life. What? You can Panto Udeva. Tian Teneki, send the Jibumaiba, set up there and the Contuana Yikoji. 제반에 야르 로야 다 기타한테 가래 지 남이긴래 세야로 영화준 지바준도 남이래 말이다 지바준도 영화준도 세다고 어디 상상도돼요 여러 번 개백이래 뭐 드네제 그쪽이야 요가데 좀 빼마시게 다 친구래 예스텐도가 뭐니 지금 좀 뭐네 가와고 또하고 다 담배 주 짜친구 임바디 임바랑 모신 거와 어 짜친구래 예서 같은데 하고 그래서
So actually, in brief, this is something that we can actually feel some gratitude and sort of happiness about, because really the Buddha Dharma is so profound. And if we understand the causes of suffering, then we understand how to avoid, having to experience suffering. If we understand the causes of happiness, we can understand how to create them. And so even though, we may want happiness, just wanting it alone is not enough. We have to actually create the virtuous or sort of positive, wholesome causes, which then lead to a result, in happiness. And so in this life, temporarily during our lifetime, we can make this understanding of karma a way of life, not just for this life, but actually, throughout future lives, because if we make it a way of life in this life, then it only intensifies in its strength, like the propensity for that becomes a deeply ingrained or a deeply habituated tendency that will travel with us, into future lives. And so, that is actually how, when we talk about these different types of karmic ripenings, so for instance, the residual karmic ripenings, which ripen as tendency, for instance, that is something in, both with virtue and non-virtue, but in the case of virtue, it increases sort of exponentially over time. And so if we make something a positive habit, a very deeply ingrained positive tendency or habit, it will only build and increase in its power, over time and over lifetimes. It will become, a stronger and stronger tendency. The residual ripening of tendency will only increase over time. And so really that's something to be, that's really good news. So we can recognize, how invaluable that understanding is, how invaluable the understanding of a karma, cause and effect is, and that can really become something that we reflect upon with a sense of real appreciation and delight.
다 제가 나에게 레세야기도 레세야디 저당가서 레세야디 네카빈 말이죠. 대인도 이나양 가서 제가 탈바탐 진천배 공부 저당가서다 상지 공부 그때 시대와리 비긴고 요리 이나양 네카브게다 템포러리 업스크레이션 대 레인 말이죠. 대인도 가서 레디 지금 개와 빵 개와지 로비는 되는 가서 레스 창발이 이 대인도 그냥 다토양 되는 상지 공부 투로 대양 되는 지 땅가서 존중점과 되는 냠내 지비는 센들라 상지 도야 대매비는 당가 공투공 휴반만 일이 근데 거지 레이터라 되는 지 전도 전상 운동지 되는 개와 침말라 상지하고 되는 yes.
And so there are both the temporary and the ultimate results of karma, the karma that we create now. There's the temporary results and benefit, and then there's also the ultimate results and benefit. And when it comes to virtue or skillful, positive, or wholesome dharma or actions of body, speech, and mind, this also corresponds with there's the ultimate benefit of, sort of temporarily our obscurations are gradually purified. And ultimately, the result of that is fully developed awakening, complete removal of the defilements. So it really is just a matter of diligence. So practicing, engaging in practice with diligence or sort of, kind of a real dedication, then we can experience actually awakening in this very life. And if we don't experience awakening in this very life, even the karmic causes that we create will go toward eventual awakening, even if it is at the time of death, in the bardo, or in the future. So we still have 15 minutes or so, and as we discussed, for those of you who weren't present during our last, our weekday practices, we discussed that there would be some time for question and answer today. So if any of you have questions that you want to follow up on from Sunday or today, that would be this would be a good time to address some of those. I'm seeing that there's some questions in the chat box, and also I don't know, it's possible that there could be some questions on Facebook. So I don't know if there's somebody on Zoom who wouldn't mind relaying those questions in case there are any that have come up in the comments on Facebook. That would be helpful.
Yeah, so the first question is from Claudia, and she wants to know, is there a way to distinguish when an experience is like a karmic effect or if it's a cause? So what do we need to examine to understand whether an experience is the cause or it's a ripening of karma?
Dini the gain sena samsamla pena the hakoya samsamla tis kapo yorwa the pena nyamyong chig yonggerwa dini nyamyong de dini the samsam the le mingi yosare jebu legi jebu yosare sam sigirwa yene yang cho shemba la samlo tamna dini chichina yang de du rang yang le zogi yosarwa dini le Ju zogi oba yamna the ngumege sape ju data mingi oba gi nyamyong kande hakoya yore.
Ta these le kora de ngazo jikta karse ko tokpa ya thombo medu lende dan deri se ya no pena cha chana da sanje no ina sanje songbari o lende dan de chi cha do tiniji sungudwa pena cha chana tini sanje jumden de koran ke tutu tandi kontiwa na giri choten pora jawala so wakini tanda gelong obalendo da tindi kakiwo talamiji tongurwa yinaya oda ngazo ke ji tindi tongtu gumarwa yinaya da zo chehyo de kare sevina ji samlen ngazo ji kanyen tindi yunguyore da feeling tendu da teyanko 지 진리 정비 까블라 지 엑셉 지지오다디 이게 레데데 니마트리 사유지레 진리 인도 고티 나다워 게 렌던도 사유지리 디니다 단다 레드가 미니 야고 충송 가와치 쪼와치 되네 트렌게 나라 깡예티원 디게 나랑게 되고 타야다 Lesa Shavata de Patayata. Tirana Yiki, Natan Nadavuki, Lesa Havati, Chandru, Sanaji, Trovachi, Kaniti Picabla, Kawagum, Trovachi, or reject or preaching to the Mayima. She had the kitchen body. 근데 참랭아 조직다 뭐 가서 샘된 게 대지로 줘 지고트니 공부요 와 되는 개와야 뭐 사이에서 예전 근데 가나 이제 계획이 선바지 막 도와다가 스페셜이야 상고 말이 되니까 내게와 로바 텔레비전 TV 중쇼 되니까 나타나 지원도 배원도 변나 이게 나나야 심진 신바다 담기가 지원도 배원쇼 나나이 용쇼 대가나이 타토야 되네 지금 나 리게다 지금 주치지 타토야 되어데 지금 상제 공부 토크 선보다 되네 다 등준도 고치 안 오지 is.
So actually to know what karma, how karma is functioning, or to identify karma, karmic ripening in is a very, very high level of realization. So it's really, impossible to identify what is karmic ripening and what that specific karmic ripening is, or what the causes may have been. But in the, unless, like in the case of the Buddha, with the clairvoyance of the Buddha, he was able to see, as it was sort of demonstrated with these stories of the pig chasing, or the being chased around the stupa, and the story about the bhikshuni with the complexion like an upala flower. So the Buddha is able to see very clearly exactly, what are the karmic causes that ripen in very specific ways. But even though we may not be able to know exactly, what is going on with regard to, karmic ripening, sometimes, for instance, if we experience some difficulty, some feelings of difficulty and suffering, when sort of a kind of seemingly, or when there's the experience of misfortune or suffering or hardship, to accept that situation by thinking, surely this is a karmic ripening. Surely I've created some sort of causes that are ripening right now. And now they're ripening. So the fact that they are ripening means that there is an opportunity here for exhaustion of that karmic ripening. Once they ripen and I experience sort of the pain or the unpleasant sensations of this, then that itself is a process of purification. That itself is an exhaustion of negative karma. So may whatever negativity that this is be fully and completely purified. So to have that kind of attitude toward hardship and difficulty, rather than rejecting it, rather than pushing it away, is really important. And on the other hand, also, and as we experience, very important, as we experience feelings of hardship and difficulty, in the experience of our own suffering, to bring that onto the path by generating compassion, by making aspirations that say, from my own experience of this hardship and difficulty, may whoever experiences this feeling, may they be free of that pain. May all beings who experience this type of hardship and suffering, may their negativity be purified. May they be free from this type of pain and suffering. And then likewise, when we experience favorable conditions, like sometimes, we just feel really good. Sometimes there's kind of like a deep sort of joy and contentment that is present in the mind. And in those moments, to recognize that as positive karmic ripening is really important. to not think like, oh, this is me. I did this, I'm something special, because I feel this way, because I feel good, then to not think of it in that way, but instead to see it as favorable karmic ripening, to recognize it as such, and then also to make aspiration prayers to think, may others also experience such karmic ripening. May everyone feel good and content, happy and at ease. May all be able to experience this type of inner joy and contentment. And then in that way, if we approach whatever our current sort of ripe experience is in a way that brings it onto the path of Dharma practice, then we're relating with it in such a skillful way that then we're creating further positive karmic causes that will continue to ripen in the future.
Okay, so there's a question.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. There's a question from Demelia. And her question is purification possible only through specific Buddhist methods such as Vajrasattva practice, or can negative karmic results be positively affected or lessened through virtuous actions of body, speech, and mind?
particularly specific
so the answer is actually that all of it can purifies negativity, negative karma. So in general, even just a moment, like a brief moment of pure intention or a wholesome thought arising in the mind, it purifies negativity or, non-virtuous karma. Whatever moments, even just split seconds of actions, of pure actions of body, speech, and mind, or any activity that we engage in, is having the effect of purifying negative karma. When we do good works in the community, when we help the Dharma center, when we say even just one genuinely kind and gentle word to someone, all of these actually, or recite a single mantra, all of these have an effect of purifying negative karma. And likewise, of course, also a very powerful form of purification is engaging in the practice of Bodhisattva. Through practicing Bodhisattva and reciting the 100-syllable mantra, this also purifies, vast stores of negative karma. Did that answer the question? Did I? Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute it. Yes, thank you so much. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, so there's a question from Dale. It says, if the Buddha cannot absolve us of our karmic ripening, does that mean it is not possible for it ever to be absolved, or only the one whose karma it is can absolve it? Isn't one of the four noble truths of karma that it, no, isn't one of the four truths of karma is that it absolutely comes to fruition? You want me to read it again?
Yang na de sapapo chikpo de le jang zotukin de chibore yang na dini the yang gayan sana the le yinji minji le gi sawam chik davna dini yinji minji de drebu mingire dini dinda yana dini gande jang sigire.
That's line, but that thanking a Sanji King to be doing chak simenus on the Sanji Kanchi to Mares, Laguio Marwa. That he could distinguishing. When a Sanji da the Katona Natono, or Sanji need the Pacharochi, Sanji I only the Pachang was. Tendici I on Mares. Yina da Sanji Song Shavik before Candice Jangoa. Sanji Lebel, Tebakejik Zamajawa. Oh, Tendiji you win Sanji Nipa Sanji Mechawa Yoruba.
So first of all, it's also actually not entirely correct to say that the Buddha is like it's some sort of like absolute thing that the Buddha cannot purify the negative karma of beings, or as you said, can't absolve us of our karma. Yes, I mean, if we go to the Buddha and we say, oh, Buddha, please, remove all my negative karma, please absolve me of my negative karma. Just as he says, I cannot just wave my hand and absolve the negative karma of beings. But the power of the Buddha is inconceivable, but there has to be there's an interrelationship there. So for instance, when we have even just a moment of faith in the Buddha, the power of that, due to the immensity of the Buddha's blessings, there's tremendous karmic purification that happens even just in that one moment of giving rise of a pure mind of faith, or by practicing according to what the Buddha taught, by putting the Buddha's teachings and practices into practice ourselves, practicing according to how he has taught or demonstrated. This has incredible power to purify our negativity and karma. So it isn't entirely, the case that the Buddha can't help to purify our karma, because the power of the Buddha and the power of all the Buddhas is extraordinary.
Oh, Tigana Gita and the late Kutanic line, but Chikwari. Go later, Dipa Yaludes. Dipa Yavina, Tenechi, Tambo Dipa Chimboza Yuna, could Nami say up and Nami Mevano. Nami Yombi Natani, Geji Kitene, Nami Yone, Zonroya, Teniungis.
So,
and before Majamina, and Consuana, Tambo Chunji, and Gilchimbo.
So, and absolutely, it is possible to purify karma, but it is, so if one engages in, has a sense of regret, is able to acknowledge and recognize one's own negativity, that is the beginning of the process. And then from there, engaging in sort of the antidotal methods to purify the karma. Then, it depends on the karma itself. There's certain karma that is kind of like all but completely purified, and that one still has to receive some degree or experience some degree of karmic ripening, but that experience of karmic ripening is diminished so greatly that it happens, in sort of like a split second. It becomes a very, like a brief experience of pain, or a brief experience of sort of karmic ripening, and in some cases, and if it is not purified, though, if we don't recognize our faults and then purify the negativities, then it actually only builds in its karmic strength. So the outcome is that the karmic ripening is much more severe.
So there's a couple more. If you want to do now, or do you want to save one more? Okay. So there's a question from Choki, and she's asking, so when one reaches full awakening, it's my understanding that this means that someone has exhausted all karma or is out of the karmic wheel. Karma is inevitable and infallible, so how is it that one is still in a body, fully conscious, and not subject to the laws of karma?
대문에 되는 똑같이 소나 되네.
the Sanjay Gopang Sete Yana Dini Nini the Bina Le Tario Sarwa, Gainsinas de Colo Le Tario de Yini Yang the Le Lua Me Pare, Le Jute Yore, Dini Dadung Pina Sanjay Gopang or Topape Tumpo Le Bayana, Dini Dadung Lu Yona, the Jigdinanga Negi Yona, Dini the Le Masaya Gambin Sigre.
Taterwa. Ina tachetan ko le yo wala mo topa je yo maris. Ina le topa tiene je khanga ti la kene. Lui chepa doesn't matter is le sak maris.
So he says that, you know, for somebody who has reached awakening, even if they are still embodied, they don't accumulate karma. So on the other hand, if one is still bound to the phenomenal world of karmic ripening, then there's no one does not experience awakening. But if one has experienced awakening, then even if they are still embodied, they are no longer accumulating karma.
Okay, one more.
There's one more.
Can I ask a question?
You okay?
I wrote it down, but it didn't go into the chat box.
Okay.
So there are some writers who say, Buddhist writers, who say that if an action is unintentional, it's not karmic at all. But when I contemplate that, I don't see it that way. In other words, I see all actions as having effects and falling into the rules of cause and effect, whether they are intentional or unintentional. For example, just a common example, maybe a terrible one, but if you drive over your child or grandchild, back over your child or grandchild in a driveway, I mean, that would have tremendous karmic effect, would it not? Even though you didn't intend to do that.
Like it was an accident.
The
Namba Kashegi Pache Dep Sonkin Kashegi Garci Pena Kunong Mena Dini the Lady Yomare. Dini Dinda Yina Mena Samgiri Pache Kapore.
Mani Jetan Terizone. Jetan take John, you can lay your own law. Lay yours. Tigana you got to Marek by you, Latene, lay yours. Yina Yanta, Jetanga's laser depend on mercy laputine, Jiko. Because changing change yours. Tina Chidukoji, Tambongas, Gulon to Mevalatene, but the party is chunga you are in Matovic lay yours. Kishu Lebanon, not magic city, and Mercedes, she's your Tatosia, Tayores. Tina Kukunoji Matari Matoveke, Lation but some sound yours.
So Lord Jigten Sungan says that yes, that even when there's unintentional karmic causes that are created, there is still most definitely karmic ripening. And And the reason for that, he says, is because ignorance or unawareness itself is a defilement.
Biggest department or what?
It's actually the biggest defilement, or the strongest of the obscurations. And so even though there may be negative karma kind of created unintentionally, there's still the obscuration of ignorance. That is the intention, or sort of the motivating factor behind much of that is unawareness or ignorance. And so therefore it has a negative karmic ripening or a negative karmic result. However, it is, you know, for instance, in the case of something like you mentioned, of say like killing, you know, an unintentional or accidental killing, that is a much lighter karmic ripening than an act of killing that was fully motivated with intent. So if, you know, there's still karmic ripening there, but because, you know, actually when we speak of the downfalls, like what actually constitutes like a downfall of a vow, a necessary factor is intention. So first, if there is the full intention to engage in the action, and then the action is fully carried out, then it constitutes a complete downfall. They're like the 4 factors that have to be present. But when there's an action that's unintentional, then obviously so for instance, if three of the sort of necessary factors for the karmic deed to be like a fully sort of fully complete karmic deed, of the 4, if 3 are present but 1 is not, there's still karmic ripening, but it's not a fully developed karmic deed because all 4 factors are not present. If all 4 factors are present, then it's like a fully developed karmic deed, and the karmic result sort of corresponds with that. But if one of the factors isn't present, then it lessens the power of that kind of karmic momentum.
Okay, good.
Maybe one more.
Okay. Yeah, there's one from Wayne. It said, then would it be correct to say the following: only you can help clear negative karma and your suffering by practicing and seeking refuge in the 3 jewels, consistently, diligently, and faithfully by conducting yourself virtuously through the 3 doors of body, speech, and mind. Hey Joe, I can repost the question so you can see it.
I think I see it here.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
Tini rang chipu dinda di digba daya gi nuba yore rang chipu mato shimba yang da tugyo mare. Tini di da par chia gi tapshi di konchok sum kyapsu doa dang the Tama the Controsumi Gardene, the young the Gyundu, Tsundu, Chene, Depa, Chene, Dine the Gewa Lunga, Yisum, Betsun Chene, Mato, the Dikba Daxo Shimbache Yosamarawa.
Oshon Lava Nongiris, Tiniris, in a young Carson of that, Dikpa Jambi Kabla Nachibu, Dikpa Chango Samia Yomaris, Ocean Dikpa Jango Sam, Ran Dikpa Chanala. Joyores in a China Yanko de Pajanala ko Karmek Tera interdependent in the go the chant of grace.
So
in a talk as a ramping grace.
So yes, absolutely, just what you said, that's right. But actually to not limit it to only the objective to purify our own karma, but actually when we expand, even though beings are sort of, you know, kind of, they can only they can only purify their own karma. Still, when we have the objective to purify our karma with the intention to be a benefit to others, when then like the aspiration actually extends, you know, may all beings purify their obscurations, may all beings attain liberation, may all beings experience the result of purifying the negative karma, which leads to suffering. Then because of actually the interdependence, because we're not completely isolated from one another, because there's interdependence, there is actually benefit that can happen for others, you know, through our own karmic purification when we have that kind of vast intention. So yeah, but mainly we purify our own karma. Mainly that is bringing benefit to ourselves.
Okay, so then we start here and then here education. I think it's
Yeah, we ran out of juice on the phone, so Facebook has gone black. I don't think it's going anymore. Anyway, we can recite the brief dedication prayer on page 24 of the prayer book. By the virtues collected in the 3 times, by myself and all beings, and samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Jigungpa Ratna Shri, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, Master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a joyful rest of the
Thank
weekend.
you.
You too.
Thank you.